And welcome back to Always Watching. For those of you new to my channel, I review all things movie and TV. So if you like what you hear, share, subscribe, and comment down below. So we are at the last episode of The Last of Us. I'm so sad. It was so well done, and it kind of left us hanging, right? This episode was very short. It was literally short and sweet, and I think it was like a love it or hate it episode. As someone unfamiliar with the game, I really appreciated this episode. I felt like it got all its points across in a very timely manner, and everything has finally come full circle. It is a tight script, but I feel like whatever is gonna happen next can only get worse, right? Ellie finally understands why how Joel has been seeing her the whole time, right? So ever since the incident that occurred in episode 8, you could see her just thinking, right? I think she was thinking, like her acting, Bella Ramsey's acting in this was on point, because I could see her mind racing, thinking like, damn, like, so this whole time we were together, this whole time we were hanging out, is that what he thinks I am? His substitute daughter? Like, she was really rethinking, like, do I really need this man in my life? And he never saw her as a partner or even a potential partner. He saw her as he reminded her of his daughter, right? Or so, like, he was trying to resist, right? So this whole time he didn't want to grow any attachment to her, because if he did, he would just start treating her like a substitute daughter. And Joel's been dead for quite some time, right? Like, this episode, he's a bit unhinged. Like, he was highly unstable. Like, he was just giving off all kinds of energy. We even find out that he tried to commit suicide shortly after his daughter's death, but he flinched and he missed. So he wasn't able to follow through with it. And he tells Ellie that it wasn't time that saved him. It was, Ellie, basically. And they have this very emotional moment. But Joel's decision to save Ellie at the end, I think it was more for him than for her, because he's kind of gotten out of that dark place, and now he's like, I don't really want to go back there. Like, it was more for his own sanity than for her safety. Like, that was the vibe I was getting. And I was hoping that this would be the start of a new partnership. But if you notice, like, Joel, he kind of goes into dad mode, right? He doesn't ask her what she thinks, like, he doesn't really try to do anything, right? He doesn't tell her, can you go look for this? What do you think? How do you think we should proceed? He kind of proceeds to, like, take control of everything. He talks her ear off. He's trying to entertain her with games and just fun. And I'm not gonna lie, the whole time Joel was talking, I was like, shut up. Like, this girl is sitting here thinking she had a, near-death moment. So, like, a lot of horrible things could have happened. And he's just like, you want to play some buckle? Like, excuse me, sir? Watching the two of them together, like, he's trying to plan out their next move, their next route, but she can already predict it, right? She's like, yeah, we'll go through there, cut through there. Like, I already know what we're gonna do, right? And she's kind of looking at him like, damn, like, what do I need you for again? And everything he's taught her so far has been like a must. Like, he didn't want to teach her anything, but he taught her out of survival. And suddenly he starts offering up guitar lessons. And I feel like this is a bridge too far, right? Like, these are recreational sports. These are things you do with people that are very close to you. And I understand his sentiment, but they're just so eerie, right? Like, they don't really have anything to do with survival anymore. He's just thinking of her as someone that he's gonna have in his life forever and take care of, right? When you start talking about guitar lessons, like, things have taken a dark turn. And also, guitar lessons, like, that's not something she would want to do, right? So he's kind of projecting a lot of things onto her that are not really there, right? There's how he sees Ellie and how Ellie wants to be seen, and these two things are getting further and further apart. And just before Joel's massacre, as I'll call it, Joel basically has this conversation with Ellie as they're overlooking the giraffes, right? Like, that was a very nice moment, and he says, listen, we don't have to do this. We can go home, quote unquote. Like, I don't know where this hospital is. Like, I'm getting tired, this wound might come back. Like, he's like, we can just go back. And Ellie she said something interesting. She's like, this can't be for nothing, right? She's like, listen, let's just get this done, and then I will follow you wherever you go, right? And I don't think it occurred to any of them that Ellie would be the sacrifice, like, worst case scenario, right? Because there's been this whole running theme of, like, sacrificing one for the many. But who would have thought all these people would die for this one person who's going to die anyways? Like, I don't think that would have occurred to them. And had that occurred to them, I'm not sure how, they probably would have just stayed back at Tommy's place. And this moment when we finally meet the Fireflies is very like, it's like, oh, we're finally here, right? There was kind of a relief, right? So they get kind of attacked, and Joel wakes up, and as soon as Joel saw the Firefly symbol, I was relieved for him. I'm like, woof, we finally made it to this raggedy hospital. Like, there was kind of a relief, because it was like, this is it, right? Like, we've struggled, we've gone all this way to find these people, to find this cure. Like, thank God, like, whatever's happening here, it has to be a good thing. And then things just take a very dark turn. And I think Marlene failed in many, many ways. She's an interesting character. In my opinion, Joel, although kind of selfish what he did the right thing. Because Joel basically did what Marlene was supposed to do in a lot of ways, right? It's one thing to shoot your infected friend. It's another thing to, kill her kid. And we've had so many instances of the show of friends killing friends, lovers killing lovers, but it's always been a must. Like, there's no other way out, but this was not a must. I don't know, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but I just got the sense like they could have brainstormed other solutions. And I kind of wonder why Marlene never kept Ellie, because in the first sort of few minutes we're introduced to Ellie's mother, and what I gathered from that conversation is Marlene and Ellie's mother were very close. So, when her mother said find her somewhere safe to stay, I'm assuming it was supposed to be with Marlene. So maybe Marlene knew this whole time that to find the cure, Ellie would have to die. Like, maybe it could be that. Like, I was thinking, like, did Marlene, like, it is possible that she looked for other solutions, but maybe this was the final solution, right? So I think there's a certain detachment Marlene has from Ellie that doesn't really make sense unless she knew the whole time she was going to kill her. Massacre was something else. Personally, I like this scene. I really appreciated it. I like the foreshadowing of the scene when Marlene was basically telling him, like, yeah, I don't know how you crossed this entire country. Like, I almost died having all these guys protect me. And granted, the Fireflies are terrible. Like, they're really bad. they're not really good at anything, it seems. So I'm not gonna lie, like, the odds of them finding a cure, I'm not so sure. Like, I trust whatever was going on with Tommy's camp than I do with these people. The whole time he was like shooting people, I was very torn. On one hand, I was like, I could appreciate Joel's like anger and frustration, because when you do find someone to love or to hang on to, you don't really want to let them go, just because everybody has been dying, right? Like, it's a lot to sacrifice one person when you have no one else. Like, they've been sacrificing people this whole time. But then another part of me was like, but the cure, there was that other part of me that was like, no, like hoping that Ellie was maybe, it was kind of a double-edged sword, because it was such a dire situation. And when he gets to the operating room, the way Joel just shoots them, like, he is just unhinged, right? And the moment he shot the doctor, like, I haven't played the game, but I just felt that was going to come back to haunt him, right? And in this apocalypse world, honestly, we could use all the doctors we can get. So that was a mistake. The way he carries her out was interesting, because they're going home, right? He kind of carries her out like, I'm going to keep you safe, I'm going to keep you protected. And this is not really something that she asked for in this situation. And so the way these last few moments were organized was really interesting, because Joel makes the decision not to tell Ellie about what had happened with the Fireflies. And I think his decision not to tell her had to do with what Marlene said. Because Marlene was basically like, how do you know Ellie would not have agreed to the surgery? Right? And I think some part of him knew that there was a chance that Ellie would have agreed, because everybody had died, right? Like, they just had this conversation prior about all the people who had been sacrificed, all the people who had died. So I think Marlene put that doubt in his head, and that's what caused him to lie. Like, this was my feeling. And the whole time he's talking to Ellie, he's having flashbacks of Marlene, right? Like, there are these moments where, he kills her, and he kills her to protect Ellie, but he's kind of haunted by it, right? Like, he's trying to like suppress the memory. Like, he's telling himself, I did the right thing because I need to protect Ellie. And the whole time he's talking, yeah, they found a bunch of other infected people, and turns out like they couldn't really do anything at all, and it was all an epic waste of time. And Ellie's waking up and she's like, excuse me, sir? Like, that doesn't make sense to anyone. Like, his story was so ridiculous, and it made absolutely no sense. And this scene of them driving off into the sunset was quite cruel, because they're not driving off into the sunset, right? Like, they just you know, they were supposed to get this done and then go wherever they wanted to go, but that's not what ended up happening, right? So it's like they actually did get to the point where a cure could be found, but Joel just axed that, and now they're hurrying away, right? To what kind of future? Like, what's the point, right? So sooner or later, I'm assuming Tommy's compound is going to be raided. Like, bad things are going to happen regardless, and Joel isn't always going to be there to stop it. So Joel was thinking like short term instead of long term, and that might have been a mistake. And, you know, Joel is feeling pretty proud of himself. You know, the car breaks down. We get to these last few moments, and these last few moments are really crucial because Ellie's thinking, right? She's racking her brain. She's like, did this man just tell me some BS? You know, and I think the moment that she realized it was nonsense is when he started comparing her and Sarah, right? When he's like, well, my daughter isn't as, you know, you're not as girly as my daughter, and she had a killer smile. And that's not to say you don't have a killer smile, but like, you know, he's just talking off her ear. And every time he said Sarah, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of had to move back because it's such a touchy subject. So the fact that he's talking about such a touchy subject openly already makes us all uncomfortable. So as he's talking, what we can understand is that he's kind of substituted her for Sarah. And I think Ellie understood this. And so she's wondering, okay, what really happened back there? You know, did this man just kill all these people to save me? Like, what did we really just do all this for nothing? And Ellie's really smart, you know, like she tries to open up to Joel. She says, listen, I killed my best friend Riley, you know, like all these people who had died. And she's trying to like open up to him to get him to tell her the truth, right? It's basically, it was her way of saying like, whatever happens, I forgive you, but you got to tell me what's up. And then Joel just starts going on a rant, right? He's like, you know, sometimes, you know, you think you have nothing else to live for, but then you find something new to live for. And essentially what Joel was saying is that she was his reason to live. And in doing so, it kind of like, the trust has been broken, right? As soon as she says, okay, she knows he's lying, right? He's trying to talk himself in circles. She can see it, and that's the end. I appreciated this episode. It was sweet, it was to the point, and I'm excited for the next one. You guys let me know what you think, and until next time.